Every single day we throw stuff out. But have you ever really, stopped to think about where away actually is? Today, we're going to dive deep into the world of solid waste. And trust me, it's a way bigger and more interesting story than you probably think.
Smothered. Wow, that's a pretty intense word, right? But it really does capture the problem we're facing. This isn't just about a couple of overflowing trash cans. We are talking about a massive global issue.
Okay, so how are we going to tackle this huge topic? Well, we're going to break it down into 5 key parts. First, we'll get into the real problem with trash. Then, we'll take a look inside a modern landfill. After that, we'll find out how waste can actually become energy, explore the power of recycling, and finally, we'll face the huge challenge of nuclear waste. Let's get into it.
All right, first up, the problem with trash. Before we jump into all the cool high-tech solutions, we got to get to the bottom of why just, piling our garbage up is such a terrible idea in the first place.
So when we talk about piling up trash, we're usually talking about a landfill. And yeah, on the surface, it's just a big hole in the ground for our rubbish. But, and this is a big but, there's a world of difference between a simple old dump and the kind of modern engineered landfill we're going to see. And this is why that difference matters so much. It's like a domino effect of bad stuff. First, yeah, it's ugly and it stinks. No surprise there. But that smell, it brings in rats and flies, things that carry diseases. Then you've got the risk of it catching fire, which pollutes the air. And the really scary part? All the toxic gunk can leak down and poison the very groundwater we drink. It's a huge, huge problem. Okay, so that's the problem. Let's get into the solution. In our next section, we're going to look at how modern engineering has really stepped up to tackle these dangers. This is where it gets pretty smart. A modern landfill is honestly a feat of engineering. It's not just a hole. First, they dig it out, and then they line it with this super tough barrier to keep everything contained. Step 2, the trash goes in, but they lay it down in layers and crush it, compact it down to save space. And finally, when it's full, they cap it and seal it up. It's basically like creating a giant secure tomb for our trash, locked away from the outside world. And this is why that liner is so important. See, as rain and other water trickles through all that garbage, it creates this toxic soup called leachate. You can just think of it as garbage juice. It's nasty stuff. And that liner we just talked about, that's the only thing standing between that toxic juice and our soil and our water. All right, now for something really cool, a total plot twist. What if that mountain of trash, all sealed up, wasn't just a problem we had to manage? What if it could actually be a power source? I know, right? It sounds kind of crazy. Can a landfill actually produce something useful? It seems like it shouldn't, but there's some amazing science happening deep down under the ground that we can actually use. So here's how it works, and it's brilliant. Once the landfill is sealed, there's no oxygen down there, and these special little bacteria, called anaerobic bacteria, absolutely love that. They get to work munching on all the organic waste. As they eat, they produce a byproduct, and that's methane gas. Now, methane is a pretty nasty greenhouse gas if it escapes, but it's also an incredible fuel. So modern landfills have this whole network of pipes that sucks up all that methane, then they burn it in a generator to create clean electricity. It's literally turning trash into power. Okay, let's switch gears a bit. The waste-to-energy thing is awesome, but it happens at the landfill. What about a solution that we can all be a part of, way before our trash ever gets there? A solution that starts right in our own homes. And, of course, we're talking about recycling. We all know the word, right? It's that simple but incredibly powerful idea of taking old waste materials and turning them into something brand new and useful, instead of just chucking them in the bin. And the benefits are just huge. Look at this. For the environment, it slashes pollution, it saves raw materials, it conserves energy. From a practical standpoint, it means way less trash ends up in those landfills we talked about, so they don't fill up as fast. And check this out. It's also good for the economy. It actually creates jobs. It's a win-win-win all around. Okay, for our last section, we need to talk about a type of waste that's, well, it's on a whole other level. It's a special kind of dangerous, and it needs a completely different playbook. This little comparison chart really lays it out. Regular trash, it goes into a lined landfill. Nuclear waste? Nope. It has to be sealed in super thick concrete or lead containers and buried deep, deep underground. Regular trash is mostly biodegradable. It breaks down over time. Nuclear waste? Not at all.
And the hazard level? Well, regular trash can be toxic, but we can manage it. Nuclear waste is highly toxic and radioactive for an incredibly long time.
So here's the absolute bottom line. Nuclear waste is ridiculously hazardous. It has to be sealed away from the environment, and not just for a few years, but for thousands of years. The containment has to be perfect and permanent. That's why waste from places like Kooiberg and Pelindaba, right here in South Africa, is handled with such extreme care and precision. And that brings us to the end. We've covered some big, complex stuff today, from landfill engineering to nuclear waste. But at the end of the day, it all starts with the small choices we make. So I want you to think about it. What's one little thing you can do today to reduce your solid waste? Because honestly, when millions of us make one small change, it adds up to something massive. Hey, we really hope this explainer helped make sense of this whole solid waste situation. If you're looking for more awesome content like this to help you nail your studies, you absolutely have to follow Mr. Chi. Seriously, go find him on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and YouTube. Share his stuff, give it a like, and hit that subscribe button. You won't be sorry.